The woman only meant to secretly record a video of her friend's affair, but she never expected to see 4 men involved. What was even more horrifying was that her friend was thrown off a cliff. The shocking scene made Carrie let out an involuntary scream, alerting the killers to her presence. Spotting the camera in her hands, the 4 men resolved to destroy the evidence. After a tense chase, Carrie ran back to camp, quickly strapped on her climbing gear, and sprinted toward the mountains, hoping to scale the cliff and escape. Tyler climbed after her, soon positioning himself right below her. His left hand kept tugging at her calf. Carrie stomped down hard, sending Tyler plummeting from dozens of meters up. The others carried Tyler back to camp, forced painkillers into his mouth, grabbed their climbing gear, and set off to continue the pursuit. Seizing the moment, Carrie kept climbing. She knew the men below would never give up. Only reaching the summit would guarantee her safety. When she spotted an abandoned tent above, hope surged through her. Like a gecko, she inched upward toward it. She finally pulled herself onto a protruding rock, only to find a massive boulder blocking the way forward. Then things took a turn for the worse. 3 of the killers had taken a detour and appeared directly above her. George called down, saying they would let her live if she handed over the camera, and lowered a rope. But Carrie knew the truth. Even without the camera, she was still a witness, and they would never let her go. When the rope moved, the men assumed she had agreed, but when they pulled it up, they found only a note with a mocking message. George cursed in rage. Carrie scanned her surroundings, spotted the tent nearby, took out the single climbing cam from her pack, wedged it into a crack above, and secured the tent to it. After testing the anchor, she crawled inside to rest, but just as she thought she was safe, the killers filled a backpack with heavy rocks, tied it to her safety line, and hurled it off the cliff. The violent jerks shook the tent, nearly sending Carrie tumbling into the abyss. She clung desperately to the tent's edge, but before she could catch her breath, the backpack swung back toward her. This time, she wrapped her arms tightly around it, dangling in midair. Then the rope went taut, and one of the killers drew a sharp knife, slicing through it in an instant. At the last second, Carrie grabbed a jutting rock, saving herself from the fall. Her heart pounded as she watched the backpack vanish into the depths below. She hauled herself back onto the rock, and crawled into the tent once more. Suddenly, a knife stabbed through the fabric, slashing her thigh. As the blade ripped open the tent, one of the men yanked her hair, pinning her to the edge and demanding the camera. Carrie's hand found the small dagger she'd hidden earlier. She drove it into Chuck's body, then tried to kick him away, but he dragged her out instead. Luckily, she managed to grab his clothing, and with the struggle above, Chuck was pulled up to the ledge. Seeing Carrie right behind him, George seized her by the hair. She quickly pulled the dagger from Chuck's thigh, and sliced through her own hair to break free. The battered old tent, already weakened from the fight, ripped away and plunged off the cliff, but Carrie made it safely back onto the rock. George looked down, disappointed she had survived. John, however, argued that without climbing gear or food, she would die eventually. They could just leave her to her fate. That night, while John relieved himself near the cliff edge, George crept up behind him and smashed his head with a hammer. George trusted no one. Below, Carrie searched desperately for an escape route. She spotted a venomous snake nearby, but on the opposite wall, a knife was wedged into the rock. Meanwhile, George decided to kill her himself. He fastened a rope to his waist and rappelled down toward her. When he finally reached her, he again offered to spare her life in exchange for the camera. But Carrie didn't believe a man who had murdered his own companion. When persuasion failed, George used force, grabbing her leg. One pull would send her to her death. Under pressure, she told him the camera was in a nearby crevice. As George reached inside, the snake struck, sinking its fangs into his hand. Realizing she had tricked him, he pinned her against the wall, choking her until she nearly lost consciousness. But the venom took hold, and in that moment Carrie slashed his safety rope and stabbed him hard in the chest. George fell into the void. When the sun rose, Carrie finally reached the mountain's summit.